Hello, welcome to Mel Made. My name's Mel and this is a podcast all about the things that I have made. I'm a little bit rusty, it's a while since I have done this and there's quite a bit to get through. The dog just snored. Charlie has just snorted and snored and yeah, made a noise when I said that, so he's really looking forward to it. I'm sure you all are as well. So let's get started. Now, I normally say about the weather, it was lovely. We just about had a summer and it suddenly today feels like autumn. It's grey, it's thinking about raining and the leaves are starting to turn and it's right at the end of August, so we got what we could in the northeast of England. It's quite a nice temperature though for a podcast because I can wear my jumpers, I can talk about jumpers. I think it's harder during the summer months. I still knit, but you know, you can be surrounded by wool when it gets a bit colder and think, yes, this is our time. This is the knitter's time. Okay, so we'll start with what I am wearing. I am wearing one of my finished objects. Oh, it's managed to crease. We'll talk about that in a minute. This is, you can see it properly, my Skeel, I'll see if I can pronounce this properly, my Skeel Gra. That's a design by Albiona McLaughlin. Again, I'm sorry if I've pronounced any of that wrong. I think it means love story in Gaelic. And I think this was on my SWIP, my soon-to-be WIP list a few episodes ago. And I sort of dove in and started to knit it, probably in about May. It is knitted in Knitting for Olive Merino in the shade Dusty Rose. Honestly, I'm a bit of a Knitting for Olive fan. I bought this in a bit of a whim. I just fancied the colour and thought I'll give it a try. And the quality of the yarn's just beautiful and I love the colour. It's a little bit more of a browny pink than I would normally wear, but I'm really happy with it. I knitted this as a sort of a lightweight spring jumper because we have spring. Stop sighing, the dog keeps sighing at me. We have spring, but sometimes it's chilly, and I thought it was this neckline that really grabbed me when I saw it. If you can see it properly there, it is so pretty. So this is worked in the round, top down. You do the lace yoke and then you separate for the sleeves, carry on. And then you do the lace detailing again at the bottom. When I first knitted this, I knitted the sleeves much too short. They're still bracelet length, you know, being generous. I think that I needed to knit about that much more, so you can imagine they were very short. I sort of told myself they were fine, and then after a couple of wears I was like, no, they're not fine. So I ripped the sleeves back, I had to rip the lace back and then knitted them further down, did the lace again. The lace is easy to do, I think. Trying to remember now, it's a little while since I did it. There's a bit of a clever sort of stitch where you do that little bit there, which is sort of they explain, it's really well written, it explains how to do it, and it makes these beautiful little flower shapes, like almost like snowdrop shapes or tulip shapes. So it's beautiful lace and it's very doable. I think the lace felt like it took quite a long time here because it was really keeping track of every row. It was all separated. I had my little stitch markers out, and then after that it was plain sailing with just knit all the way around. I'm really happy with it, but I don't know, I mean, I fold all my jumpers up and I put them in a sort of big boxes in my wardrobe, like plastic boxes that you can clunk down so the moths don't get them, because we've had loads of moths this year just coming in through the windows when stupid people in my family leave lights on and windows open that drive me mad. And you know, we humanely catch them and let them outside. I'm not allowed to kill them anymore. I get told off. My partner's very gentle, and he was horrified when he found me just slapping them, and I'm not allowed to do that. I get protective over my jumpers. No, we catch them. Well done, James, and we release them back out into the wild. But anyway, I've got these boxes. So my jumpers are all sort of rolled or folded up and put in. And this one, I mean, I've had this on all day and it's still showing some creases. And I think that's partly the nature of it's a lovely soft merino. It feels buttery and lovely, but it is holding a crease. So I don't know if anyone's got any advice how they store their merino jumpers. Is there a better way that I can look after this, short of zipping it up in some sort of zip bag in the wardrobe, like a suit bag? But that seems a little bit overkill. I've got a lot of jumpers and I'm in and out of my jumper boxes all the time. But yeah, I'm really reluctant to just hang it. I've got velvet hangers that I could hang it on, but I've heard that that can pull them out of shape, even though this is very light. And it's just easier for the, you know, any moths or anything to get to them. Unless I just put this away in the winter and in the summer and just have it hanging during the autumn and the spring is when I would wear it. Maybe that's the solution. But if anyone's got any ideas, do let me know. You'll have to excuse me sniffing. I think I've had hay fever for about 3 months, either that or a sort of weird COVID hangover, but I'm a delight. I keep sort of sneezing. And I think getting all the wool out and all the jumpers out of the wardrobe probably hasn't helped either. So yeah, this was knitted in 3.5mm needles as well. So it was I wouldn't say it's a labour of love. It was a labour of love, but that makes it sound like harder work than it was. It didn't take that long and it was a really, really enjoyable knit. So I recommend that. On to the rather long list of finished objects. Okay, are you ready? First of all, I'm going to stick my leg in the air because I've got some socks finished, which is unusual for me. Normally I sort of twist and moan about my socks for several episodes. You can't see them properly. I'll put a picture up in here. These are my Hermione's everyday socks. I don't have the designer's name in front of me, but I'll try and put it on the screen. And really lovely, simple pattern, really easy to memorise, really enjoyable. The wool I used is from, I'm going to take one off actually and sort of wave it at you. I put them on fresh before, so it's not too meaning. Really lovely pattern. I really like this colour. It took me ages to choose this colour. I got it from Wool Mouse in Stanhope, and they do lovely hand-dyed sock yarn. And you know, you used to get one-off skeins. And I've forgotten the name of this, but they've got so many gorgeous colours. And every time I go to Stanhope, it's over the Pennines from where we are. But sometimes we go out there for a nice drive and we go around the shops, and when I go there I sort of have to get myself a skein sock wool. So that is that. I'm very happy with them. I'm trying to build up my little sock drawer. I want a lovely little array of neat hand knitted socks. That's never going to happen unless I get more neat with my socks. The dog side again. Try and ignore the dog. We'll just start sighing at each other. Yeah, I recommend. I think it's a free pattern, but it was just a fun knit, actually easy. I think maybe the trick with me and socks is to make them easy, and then I just knit them. And also my feet are quite little, so I think I sort of go, oh, I'm done, because I've only got size 4 feet. Whereas if I'm knitting for my partner or my dad and the feet are quite big, it just seems to go on forever because, you know, the feet are longer. But anyway, I'm clearly, as you can tell, I'm a project knitter, not a process knitter, and I get very impatient to finish my projects, which is partly why my sleeves are always too short, and my knitted body's often a bit short, especially if I'm going top down. It's just pure impatience, but there we go. My next finished object is, I have finished my Cozy Light Classic. Here it is. Oh, there. Just drop my pen. I will put a picture up here as well. I think I have got a picture of me wearing it. I got this yarn from Yarndale last year, and I just absolutely adore the colour. Look at that. It was just ticking all my boxes. Bluey, greeny, purpley, pinky, lushness, turquoisey, yum, 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 yum. Mainly dark. Lots of forest green going on. It is probably supposed to be a sock yarn. It's a temporal spin. I think it's merino superwash sock yarn, and the colour is dragon scale. And yeah, it just feels so nice. Now I did knit this in, so hold on, oh, I haven't written down what size I knitted. I think this may be the second size, because I knitted it in superwash, and we know that superwash will often stretch out once knitted, so I wasn't too worried about it being a little bit snug, and I wanted a fitted jumper. This is another sort of transitional one. It's going to be lightweight. It's not going to be really, really warm in the winter, but it could be something that I layer with other things. And I just adored the colour. and I found, quite rare for me, normally I find a pattern and then find the wool to match it, but in this case I found the wool and I was like, what am I going to knit with this, because this is just amazing. And I found the Cozy Light Classic. I think it's by Jessie May. Again, I'll put Jessie May, is that how you pronounce it? I'll put her name up here as well, if that's right. If it's not, I'll put a different name up here. And I would recommend the pattern. It's simple. It is, again, I'm doing loads of top-down ones at the moment. That's not normally my preferred way of doing these things. It is knitted in the round top-down, but with a sort of a mock raglan with increases, increases going all the way down here, as you can see. And just quite a straight arm. I didn't drop a needle size for the ribbing, I just carried on, did what I wanted to do. I did quite a long ribbing there because, as you know, I tend to knit things a little bit too short. I think this is about right, although I do like tucking things in, and sometimes it can come untucked, so I could have done it a bit longer, but again, with the superwash, I think within a few months, I think it'll have just stretched a little bit and it'll be fine. So I'm really happy with that. It looks lovely with dungarees and things, and I'm very, very happy with that. The next one I have for you, this one was almost done last time I podcasted. It's now done. This is one of my favourite cardigan patterns. This is the Be Thankful cardigan by Lily Kate Makes. I don't think I've got a picture of me with this on, so I'll put this on now just to show you, and I might put a picture up if I can find a good one, but just so you get the idea. Look at those creases, honestly. Yeah. So yeah, Be Thankful cardigan by Lily Kate Makes. And I think last time I was dithering about whether to take these buttons off an old cardigan because they're perfect, and I decided, I think I got some good advice in the comments, went for it. Really, really pleased I did, because they go really, really well. It's got sort of a balloony sleeves. It's knitted in, well, this is Cascade 220 and it's like a worsted weight. It's knitted bottom up in one piece, and Lily Kate Makes, she does some lovely, really simple patterns, but there's always something a little bit edgy and cool about them. And I think she doesn't, I get the impression she doesn't like seaming, because I don't think I've ever had to seam with any of her designs, and they're normally fairly quick. This is a quick to knit up. The Cascade, I can't remember the colour of the Cascade. Hold on, or can I? No, it'll be a number, but it was a turquoise colour in the Cascade 220. I knitted size 3, which is about right for me. I think that's a medium. And Cascade 220 is nice. It's Peruvian Highland wool. It's soft, squidgy. It's quite reasonably priced. And this is one of those, I probably should knit this in a neutral. I did have this in a white and managed to shrink it. But I love turquoise. I wear it a lot. I have lots of turquoisey prints and things like that. So I just decided to go for it. And yeah, I'm really, really happy with it. It's been a nice cardigan to throw over summer dresses if I've got like a white one and a navy one. That works quite well. Bit of pilling here. But it has had a lot of wear, so I'm not too worried about that. Yeah, there's a nice detail where you sort of have the seam on the other side where you, what do I do? You sort of knit it and cast it off together. It's fine. It's really nice. I really like it. I'm not explaining it very well, but it's quite a while since I knitted this one. I can't remember the size of needles. I think it'll be 5 or 6 millimeter needles. So again, like a nice quick, lovely cardigan. It stops midway. It's a nice length, especially to wear with dresses. Just, yeah, and I could see myself knitting another one of these in the future, possibly a white one again, because I use that white one all the time. I just find it really hard to knit the same thing twice, and I was so cross with myself for felting and shrinking my previous one. But it's a really easy one, and it's going to be a good one for present because it's quite quick as well. So there's that one. Okay, my next one is, and I had this on my radar last time, I think it was in the naughty pile last time. This is my finished sea glass tea. Oh, I expect this. It's pretty, it's fun. This is one that you can make with odds and sods, like little ends of wool and remnants and just stash yarn. Couldn't think of the word there. Now, I do like the fabric. I'm fairly happy with it. I didn't enjoy knitting this as much as I thought I was going to. As soon as you say colour work to me, I get really excited. I love colour work, and it was fun. But by the time I'd divided for the sleeves, I got really, really sick of it. And I might have had a moan about this last episode. Not because of the pattern. The pattern's great. It was just, I kept knitting rows, and you have 2 colours per row, and I was just changing colours every single row. And then I had to always be thinking, have my thinking brain on, like, what I'm planning, what 2 colours am I going to use next. Now that was fine for the first 100 rows, but for the next 100 rows I was getting a bit like, oh, I don't care anymore. I wanted someone to just put them in front of me and tell me, but I kept thinking, well, I could have this colour, I haven't had this colour for a bit, and then I'll have that colour. And I mean, you know, I did do what I thought would look right, but I had to be continually judging it, checking, winding bits of wool, losing tiny balls of wool, working out what was going to look nice together, what was going to contrast, what had been the last row, what was going to be in the next row. There was just a lot of planning. More planning than you would think for a jumper that has no rules. Maybe that's a problem. Maybe I needed a pattern, a chart, just to keep myself right and stop myself overthinking it. I also, and this is my fault, not the pattern's fault, because there is a clever way to do the yarn joins, but I think I made a mess at the back. Look at that. That's very messy back. It moves to the side. The join moves to the side after a bit, and that's fine. I hope blocking would even the back out, and I probably could tidy it up a bit with, I think some bits of wool have come out, but not too bad. It's very messy there. It's quite bad. Yeah, so I just sort of make a little bit of a hash of that. And there's probably, I mean, loads of people, I've watched podcasts about better ways to do yarn joins and colour work in the round when you're changing like that. And I just got too excited, started off quick. I mean, initially I did it quite well right at the top. Maybe I just got lazy by the bottom and then just thought it'd be fine, and it wasn't. Oh. Actually, there's a couple of bits sticking through that shouldn't be, but anyway, it was always just supposed to be a fun top, and it looks nice with skirts and jeans and things. I think the other thing with this, maybe I should have done this, I think if I could have kept this going, 3/4 length sleeves might have been better, because, and I struggle with this with summer tops, because I've got, this is all knitted so in fingering, so 4-ply scraps, like sock wool and things, lovely. But then if you have 2 strands of 4-ply going through, you end up with, well, at least a double knit weight of a garment. And some of the fibres, there's a bit of silk in there. It's all very pretty, but some of them are a little bit scratchy. It's not all superwash. And in the summer, when I want to wear short sleeves, am I always going to want a double knit t-shirt on? You know, it's a bit like, for me, it's like I either want 4-ply or linen or cotton. And the ones I've got, the summer tops I've got knitted in sort of heavier wool, I don't tend to use as much, because if I want a heavy wool, it's the winter and then I want my arms covered. So yeah, slightly overthought sea glass tee. I do recommend the pattern. It is clear, it is easy. It's a really, really good way to use up any sort of spare sock wool that you've got. And I do think the result is pretty and fun. And I just got weary, I think, and it did end up in the naughty corner, but that is probably about me and the way I do things, and not about the designer. The designer, by the way, I don't think I said, is Wool and Pine, and this was size medium. So knit it, do knit it. Maybe stick to superwash if you've got loads of superwash, because that's, like I say, in the warmth of summer, real wool can get a little bit scratchy, and I find superwash is a lot smoother on my skin. That's what I would do if I was going to reknit it. Just stick to the bright superwashes and go for it, and maybe plan out all of the rows and the combinations in advance so that I didn't have to think as much, because it was like plain knitting but also thinking knitting. And if I'm going to do thinking knitting, I want to do colour work, cables or lace. I don't want to just have to think every row and then, you know. Anyway, I'll stop talking about that now because I'm annoying myself. Next one. I love this one. I'm so pleased with this one. Right, this is, oh, so happy. My Kingston cardigan. This was not even on my radar last time I podcast. Oh, I don't even think I'd ordered the wool. I did it on a bit of a whim. I have this stash yarn I got from our sort of charity box in our knitting group. I don't know what it is, but I found it about a year ago, and you can see there, it feels like, it smells and feels like real wool. I think it's a worsted weight, and it's a soft sort of browny colour. And I got a few skeins like this, and for a donation. I think I donated like £20 and got quite a few bits and pieces. And I was like, oh gosh, that feels lovely. It smells lovely, feels lovely. I think that's real wool. And this is so silly. I was on my little knitting for Olive jaunt, I think I'd got this, and I was like, oh, I'm just loving it. And I wanted to try to sort of, I think I saw it on Fruity Knitting. I thought, let's try and start playing around with the mohair combinations, because they do have the most incredible range of colours. And I saw this brown mohair, silk mohair, and it was called Brown Bear. And I was like, oh, and it was a dark brown. I was like, I'm gonna have to get that. I mean, I don't know if anyone else actually buys yarn because they like the name of the wool, but it's good to know if you're selling yarn. It's good to know. I'm obviously a marketeer's dream, but I was like, I've got to buy that because it's called Brown Bear. I think the other time I've done that was I've got my Kim Hargreaves, oh, is it Closer jumper? And I knitted that in a dark green. It was a Skiing Queen yarn, and it was called Enchanted Forest. I blatantly bought that because it was called Enchanted Forest. So it's clearly a bit of a fairy tale lover in me. But yeah, this is the Brown Bear. Oh, I haven't got it on its own. But anyway, knitted up along with this. You can sort of see it combined into this sort of beauteous fabric. I think it's the feel of it I love as much as the colour. It's a really dark coffee chocolate brown. I do like my dark browns if I can find a colour that suits me. I'm more of a cool coloured person. I think this is a cool pink, this is a cool brown, and this is sort of ticking those boxes. But the feel of the fabric is just amazing. I'm so pleased with it. And the pattern is, it's called the Kingston cardigan, and that is by, oh, I haven't got the name of the design. I'll put the name up here. I really, really recommend this pattern. It was super. It's got these gorgeous little cable details where you, how did I even knit this? Hold on. I can't even remember if this was bottom up or top down. I'm going to put it up because, you know, it's important. I think it was bottom up, and there was this lovely cabling. I can't remember. Isn't this awful? I really enjoyed knitting this. I cannot remember how I did it, but it's very, yeah, I remember it being really well explained. I love the detailing at the seam. The seams, there's this cabling just at the seam, at the back of the sleeve, at the front of the sleeve, and down the side there. Can you see that? They're pretty. You would see the cabling more in a lighter colour. I mean, I could knit another one in another colour. The sleeves are fairly straight, a little bit of tapering on them, and for me, this is a neutral. It's gonna go loads of things. Obviously, I finished it in the summer, and it's more of a winter cardigan because it's so fluffy. But that hasn't stopped me. It's a British summer after all. I got some lovely coconut buttons. I'm very pleased with them. I think they just work really, really well. And yeah, I'm over the moon with it. I think I knitted this on. I think it was size 4mm needles, 4.5mm needles, and I knitted the size 3. And yeah, I just haven't got the designer name written down there, but I really, really recommend this. Lovely, lovely basics cardigan. Next we have, this is a funny one. Well, I think it's funny. I got this knitting kit for Christmas from my Secret Santa at work. Thank you, Secret Santa, whoever you are. I got a little knitting kit, and the pattern that came with it, I think they made the knitting kit. I don't know if it was an online thing or whether they just printed it out, but it's this slipper boot pattern, and it's by Mad Monkey Knits, and they were called the Christmas Super Chunky Slipper Boots Knitting Pattern. Mad Monkey Knits knitting pattern number 1052. And I got this really nice 100% woolen yarn. This is also included in my present, so it was it's called Viking yarn. Ooh, Naturgarn. I don't know if that's the colour or just the type. It's 100% wool, which is wool. Colour number 634. And look, it was really cool, like not my normal colours, like very autumnal colours. Inga from Knitting Traditions would probably like this colour. But I did think it's really fun, and it's lovely to have a bit of yellow and orange around, especially in the autumn. And as you can see, I have knitted them. I have not done them like the boots that are pictured there. I don't really do slipper boots. It's hard enough for me to slip slippers on. I've normally got sort of mules that I just stick my feet straight into because I'm very lazy. But I knitted them, I think I knitted them the largest size I could, and then because it's 100% wool, I thought I'm going to have a go at felting them a little bit. So I did. I washed them, knitted them up. Very, very easy. Again, this is me trying to work out how I do this. You start off, so you start off like here, and then you knit, and then you like would seam that, and then you do like short rows to get them. I'm not explaining it very well, but it's easy to follow. It's like with socks, once they're made, I'm like, how did I do that? But it was easy at the time. And I started at different places in the balls of wool for each slipper. I wanted it like that. Some people would want them matching. It doesn't bother me. I quite like the quirkiness of it. But yeah, I knitted them quite big, and then I hand washed them, and then tumble dried them until I fit my feet. So I kept having to check the time. Every like 3 minutes I'd be like looking in the tumble dryer and looking. So they're not fully felted, but I wanted the sole to be a little bit, thick and sturdy, because I don't know what I'm going to tread on in my house. Normally like drips of water on the kitchen floor and hair grips and things, nothing too serious. It's clean. Yeah, you can see the felting's happened in there, and I think they'll felt more as I wear them in. They're very cosy and warm, and I'm very pleased to have these to wear for the winter. And these would be a really good, I'm possibly going to do some Christmas gift knitting with these. I know people are particular about the slippers, or my friends are very specific about their slippers, but I do think they could be a really good present. They're quick. I don't know how much the yarn is, but we had like quite a reasonable budget for our Secret Santa, so I'm assuming no one spent a fortune on the wool. I hope not, because it's me merrily felting away and experimenting. And yeah, I could definitely see me knitting them again. I'm also a bit of a sucker for garter stitch, and as you can see, they are all garter stitch. Lush. Really, really nice. I suppose you could get a sort of leather sole, maybe add a sole on, but I'd be worried about me ending up tripping. I trip anyway without any excuse, so I'm just, yeah, really happy with that. The next one I have is, I'm very, very proud of this one as well, actually. Let me just make sure I'm showing you the front of it and not the back. Not that I think it massively matters. The Petal Wrap Tee. So there's a bit on there, a little bit of cotton on there. There we go. I'll put a picture of it up. This is knitted in 100% cotton. It's a Rowan denim cotton. And let me just look at my notes. I have extensive notes for this episode because my memory's not great and I seem to have knitted 1,000 things. Rowan denim cotton is all I've written down there. The colour massively came off of my hands. So I couldn't knit this anywhere but on the sofa with a sort of throw around me that didn't matter if it got mucky. And it's all fine now. It's been blocked, and I mean, if you get new dark blue denim jeans, the colour does come off a bit at first, doesn't it? So you sort of expect that. And it took a lot of yarn. This is quite heavy because it's a double knit weight. Again, I got it from the yarn from the charity donation box at our wool group. I was really pleased to find sort of indigo colour. It's my colour. I do love a navy. I'll put up on the screen who this pattern is by. Again, I really can recommend this pattern. It was so enjoyable. It was so fun. I love the edging. If you can see there, you know, there's a wavy edge. You start off with a provisional cast on and you do lots of increases and things to make this wavy edge. And then you take the little cast on stitches off and you go straight into the lace. So you're knitting from the top, again, top down, straight into the lace, which is intricate and gorgeous and goes on for a long time, but in a good way. And then you turn it inside out, because what you can see at the finished side is the reverse stocking stitch. So inside is the stocking stitch. So because you're knitting it in the round, it's easier just to turn it inside out and knit stitches rather than purl stitches. And you can knit the sleeves as long as you like. I chose to knit them this length. You probably could just bind off wherever you wanted, really. And I think there's options to knit the sleeves longer and have it done in wool. And I just think it's stunning. It's a really, really gorgeous lace design. It's really clever. The increases are worked into the lace pattern, which I know often happens, but I just think this is really, really well done. I recommend it. I've had quite a bit of wear out of this already. It's a nice one for work. It's quite sensible. You can wear it with skirts, you can wear it with jeans. Yeah, just not got a bad thing to say about it. The only thing I had was like the indigo of the yarn did come off. The dye came off of my hands all the time and covered me, so I'd be really careful what I was wearing when I knitted it as well. And that's probably why it took me quite a while to knit this, because it was just in the evenings on the sofa when I was awake enough for the lace. You know, I was working on that, and then it became a bit of a slog with the body, because normally when I've got plain things to knit, I will sort of cart it around with me and do bits in the car and bits in meetings and all sorts. But I didn't really do that much with this because I didn't want to get, you know, massive navy blue sort of dye everywhere. So again, it was just on the sofa. So I had to be quite disciplined and think, right, I'm going to knit like 2 centimetres today each day until it was done. And once I got going on it, it was fine. And yeah, really, really pleased with that. And again, I'm pleased to have a summer top in a natural fibre, because I think that's what I'm finding. Wool's a natural fibre, wool's great, I love wool. But for the summer, my linen top, my white linen top, I had a little bit of a crisis with the stain on that, but that seems to have resolved itself. It's not very noticeable on, so I've just pretended it's not there. Hope no one stares really closely at like underneath my boob. But yeah, I've got the white linen top that I knitted, the Moonset Tee, and I've had loads of wear this summer from that. It's so comfortable. Wearing linen in hot weather just feels right and comfortable and lovely, and I want to knit a linen dress, I think, for the summer, maybe for next summer. And this is cotton, and yeah, again, slightly short on the body. If I knitted it again, I would knit it longer. I say that every single time, but cotton tends to grow, so I'm not too worried, and it's not stopping me from wearing it. I normally have high-waisted things and tuck it in anyway, and yeah, it's just a pleasure. So I think for me, I'm getting in my head, I need to be knitting with the natural fibres. I might give bamboo a try next summer. Silk, bamboo, cotton, linen. Linen is my favourite so far. I don't even find it that hard on my hands. I found the cotton a little bit hard on my hands, I have to say. I don't know, maybe because it's thick. But it's produced a beautiful garment, and very, very happy with that. Okay, I'm still going. Feeling strong. I've done, it's not really like I think it's a finished object, so I'm going to include it. I have amended an object. So I knitted the Lawrenson sweater, again by Lily Kate Makes. Put a picture in there. Is knitted in, you can see where I'm going with this, Alice Starmore's Virtual Yarns Hebridean 3-ply in the colourway Selkie, which is a grey with lots of different colours in, yum yum yum. And it's a pure wool, and it's got these puff sleeves, and I love the puff sleeves, but I think because of the quality of the wool, it needed to be knit in something maybe more like merino, something that would flow, or alpaca, something that would flop a little bit, because I think the wool being a little bit stiff gave gave the top this, I wasn't liking how stiff the puff sleeves were, and it was stopping me from wearing it. I mean, I give off teacher vibes anyway, and when I wore it at work, people were saying, you look like a teacher. Yeah, and I just don't know, it just wasn't working for me. So I really wanted a vest top, and so I realised I could just cut the sleeves off and keep the wool for something else. And well, that's what I told myself, but really, you know, get some use out of it. So that's what I have done. I have got rid of the sleeves. I think I just picked up stitches where I wanted them to be. Another one I forgot what to do with my long needles, and made sure that they were sort of even, sort of like drew with the knitting needles where I wanted the armholes to be. And that was past where I'd already sort of, this was knitted in one piece, so you know, you were picking up stitches and doing all sorts, so it was quite easy to unpick that, and then it was sort of still intact at the seams, if that makes sense. So I got rid of that a little bit, took it in, got a nice line where I wanted the armholes to be, and then I just picked up the same number of stitches for each sleeve in the round and knitted a little ribbed edge to match the little ribbed edge there. And my little mermaid, like putting them on so I know where the back is. And I ended up with a really nice like vest top that I can wear over the top of shirts and blouses and other tops and things. And I don't think I've got a photo of me wearing it yet, but I'm sure one will come along at some point on social media. And I just love this. Look at that. You can see the colours in that. Lovely quality wool. I really, really like this. A little bit of pilling, but not too much. It's just satisfying to knit with, and the colours are so beautiful. Yeah, so I would recommend the wool, but I was very happy not to have to buy more wool to then get a sort of slip over, a vest top that I wanted. So I'm going to count that as a finished object because it's something that I can now wear. I haven't worn this since the spring really because it's been a bit warmer, but it's going to be definitely coming out in the autumn soon. The last one, I didn't realise I'd knitted this much. Okay, now I forgot to write this in my notes because I just found this when I was digging out the other jumpers, because again I haven't worn this much because it's been warmer. So when I went to Yarndale, I also found some yarn for a pattern that I wanted to knit that I got from my grandma. So my grandma passed away recently, God bless her, and my auntie sent me a lot of her old knitting patterns, and this was one of them. I've creased it, I'm terrible, I know, it wasn't like this when I got it, I've ruined it. This is in the dolman style. It's a Paton's beehive fingering P&B wools. I think it's like basically a Paton's pattern. And I think I was looking at it with one of my children and we worked out it was from the late 50s. So, and it was a pattern, I think they've said back by popular demand because it was featured in a magazine and then everyone wanted it. It's knitted sideways, which I've never done before. So you start on one sleeve and then you seam here and you seam there, so it's all knitted in one piece, and if you open it out it would be, I don't know if I'm explaining it very well, but you knit it from here across there, and then you go across, then the back's all one piece, and then you do sort of short rows and bits like that, and then you come back round and then you knit a separate ribbing at the bottom and button band, and you seam it all together. There's quite a bit of seaming involved, and I love the instructions because like old sort of vintage patterns, they're just so minimal. It was very much like it's got one size, you know, you can sort your other sizes out. Was it's you know, that was the reasoning. It said Paton's beehive fingering 3-ply. I didn't know what that was, but I found some, I could see the sort of old size number 12, UK size 12, which was, I don't know, 3mm. Anyway, I thought I'll make it work, and I found some John Arbon. I think this is if this feels like alpaca, and it's got long fibres coming out. It must be alpaca. Didn't have labels on. It was in a sale bin in Yarndale, The colour was divine, and it was like, it wasn't as expensive as John Arbon yarns normally are, and I took it and then lost the label, so I'm not being very helpful, I know, but I found this and I loved it, and this is the result. Very drapey. Could have done this with a stiffer yarn, after saying my last piece was my puff sleeves. This could have done the puff sleeves and that wool could have done this. But I don't think it matters that it's drapey. It's lovely. It might just get a little bit big, that's all. I knitted it in one size. All the adjustments I made were for my length of body. I have got a longer body. I didn't probably need to. Again, this is stretched a little bit. So I added sort of 10 stitches either side after increasing, so that you start with the sleeves and you do that, and then after increasing for the side seams, I'm not explaining it very well, but I added an extra 10 stitches basically either side for the length, which is what I did. The one thing I've done wrong, I don't know how I did it, but I just got confused with the setup. There is a join in the back ribbing of the button band, and it's to one side. It's not centred. I don't know if that's because I'm not centred or whether it's more likely that I've just made a mistake, actually. I haven't got a photo of me with this on. I'm going to have to just put it on over this and just have to sort of guess on how it would work, because I want to recreate that picture on that pattern, because I just think it's really sweet for the 50s. And show my auntie, because I think she'll like it. So obviously imagine it without the jumper underneath it. But it's I got these buttons from Etsy that really matched. I had some issues with the button holes. I managed to make them a bit big, and again with the pattern instructions, it was very much like it did not spoon feed you at all. It sort of told you how to do it, and then it expected you to apply common sense and logic and just keep doing it, work it out, make it work. But I'm really pleased at the length, how it fits. It's going to be really nice it goes with a lot of my shirts and things. And again, I could wear this with anything really. It's like a summer, quite summery, but also autumn and spring. It is warm but not too warm, and it's got sort of, it's worked out as 3/4 length sleeves. So I'm really, really happy. I don't often knit vintage patterns because I can get a bit intimidated by them, and because I worry about the sizing, because I love vintage clothes. Whenever I get vintage clothes, I'm always a bit like, oh, it's so tight, because women's sizing is changed, hasn't it? Like recently, I'm sure today's size 12 is not what a size 12 would have been in like 1950 or what have you. That's my experience anyway. But this worked really well. It just did take quite a while, and it's very, very brief instructions for something that's I think fairly complicated and an unusual construction. It is very brief instructions. It tells you to check your tension. There's a big thing about that, so I did do that. I did that carefully, and then it gives you the pattern, as in like, because it looks like a rib, but you're actually knitting. You're knitting. Can you see? That's how you end up knitting. So you've got it's like knit, purl, knit, purl. So that you get bumps on some side, and then the stocking stitch you can see on above and below. So and then when you turn it up that way, it looks like ribbing, and it's stretchy, a bit like ribbing, not quite stretchy. So keeping track of where on the pattern was quite important. So it was a 6-row pattern, and you cast on with the small needles at the cuff, and then you go to the bigger needles. I can't honestly, because I wasn't prepared to talk about this, so I can't even remember which needles I used. I imagine it'd be 2.75. It was quite small, and you just when you cast on here, you end up increasing, and then you end up knitting for the back, and then you're decreasing, and you go down. And it took a longer time than I thought. I thought this won't take long, but because it's in tiny needles with fingering weight wool, 4-ply wool. So it took a lot longer than I thought. I don't know why I didn't think it would take a long time, because there's a lot of knitting in that. But it was enjoyable, and it was just plain. I think sometimes when it's plain blocks of colour, I get a bit tired near towards the end. But I'm not surprised, because I've knitted so much. But it's squidgy. Oh, nice. But that was on my to-do list for such a long time. It was a year ago that I went to Yarndale. and got that. So I was really pleased to just get on and get that done. And I made the buttonholes work in the end, but it just says things like, it was really easy to do things wrong. I had to rip back a few times because for the buttonholes it says, right, so with number 13 needles, you cast on like loads of stitches, work 4 inches in garter stitch, making 3 buttonholes up right front edge. So I started to do 4 inches in garter stitch and then read making 3 buttonholes up right front edge. First to come in 1/4 of an inch from lower edge, second 1 3/4 of an inch from the first, and third 1 3/4 of an inch from the second. So it's telling you, but it's not going to give you row by row. It's just like, just do it and make this work. And I mean, it's fine. It's absolutely totally doable. But it engages your brain a bit differently maybe than more modern knitting patterns. And I think part of that is that nowadays people are writing knitting patterns to be knitted either side of the Atlantic, to be knitted on the continent, to be knitted Australia, all across the world, and you need to spell it out a bit. But you know, I know it used to be that people would just have to work it out for themselves, and there was a tradition that, you know, you would just get a bit of a stitch pattern and then you would just figure out your tension and away you would go. But now there's more of an expectation that you do spell it out. But I quite liked being a bit of a detective and having to work it out, and I felt really proud when I did. And obviously they used to have to print these, and the less you have to say in a pattern the better, the cheaper it is to print and distribute. So yeah, and I love that the only size was 33 to 35 inch bust. Now that isn't my bust size, but it's a stretchy wool. So normally I'm like a 39 or a 40, but fine, it worked. I'm really happy. And all you would have to do if you were worried about your bust size really, or it being too small, was you could just increase this. This could have been knitted to a much bigger panel, because you've got a big panel on the bottom. Probably not. That is not 4 inches. Aren't I naughty? Blatantly didn't do 4 inches. Just like 2. Anyway, you could extend that. After saying I extended the body, I then just did 2 inches on the bottom. I think I realised I'd done quite enough. And yeah, you could make that button band wider, and then yeah, but working out how long to knit each side of the button band, because you do the waistband and then you cast off like the middle stitches, and then you keep knitting up either side, you know, one at a time, and then you knit, doing your buttonholes in the right place, which is another sad story that I had to rip back a couple of times. And then you've got to make sure you knit to the centre with it slightly stretched, and then make sure you do the other side, knit all the way up to the centre, slightly stretched, and hope it all works. And it was the slightly stretched bit that maybe got me, and where I was actually working to. So anyway, it's a bit off centre at the back. You can see the seam there, but I've got long hair, it'll be fine. I don't care enough I'm really not doing that again, because I did have to rip back and knit it again maybe 2 or 3 times for the button band. So by the time I was done with this, I was done. It's worked, I'm happy, and I would knit another sideways one again. It was fun and it was different, and it kept my brain going. Clearly needed. Oh my goodness, we've got to the end of the finished objects. Yay! Oh no, I'm nearly on an hour. Right, okay, so we'll go to the whips. I'm really excited about this. Okay, it's all about the whips for me today. I am knitting it's been on my list to knit for about 4 years, for ages, forever, and I kept looking at wool for it. The recommended wool is really pricey for me, and I kept looking and humming and hawing and putting it in my basket and for years, and then not paying for it because it was coming out as like, by the time the shipping was factored, it was like well over £100. It was £160 maybe, for my size, or for what I was on. I don't know. Anyway, because I think it has to be shipped from the US. So I've started backwards. I am knitting the Shifty sweater by Andrea Mowry. And the recommended yarn, I believe, is Spin Cycle yarns, which looks stunning. 2 different threads of colour all spun together, fading in and out of lusciousness. And I love the samples. I'll put a picture of the pattern here. I love the blues and the browns she does them in. Any sample, anyone, I think any of hers that she does, I'm just like, oh, that looks lovely, oh, that looks lovely. And I saw this pattern, I think I saw the Shifty shawl first, and it was on a podcast, I think it was again Fruity Knitting, and they were at some sort of wool festival, and someone was wearing it, and I saw that pattern, and I thought, oh, that would be so nice in a sweater, and then realised there was a sweater pattern based on it. And I think it's not just the colours, it's the textures of this particular pattern that really, really, really sing and call to me. But yeah, I was looking for the yarn, and I could find it, and then I just couldn't quite bring myself to pay for it, even though it's beautiful. It's just a bit out of my price range. Plus there was the worry of, when you're buying online and then it would come shipped from overseas, and if I didn't like it or it wasn't quite what I thought it was I going to send it back? Or it was a risk as well as the price. So I had put it to one side, and then my partner James, he likes to travel about and go places and visit, and because I'm often working, I'm not with him, he's realised that he gets lots of love if he comes back with wool for me, and God bless him, he's started buying me wool when he goes abroad, or when he just goes out for the day, quite far, and finds a wool shop, which is really sweet, because wool shops aren't his sort of deal, but he goes in and asks for help and gets me things. So he came back one day after going to Simonside in, I think it was Rothbury in Northumberland, which is about an hour from here. He went on a mountain walk with his friend, and he went into a wool shop called Rainbow Yarns, shout out to Rainbow Yarns, and sort of said, I like knitting jumpers, and they gave him they sold him I think it was a kit for a scarf, but I'm not a massive scarf knitter. And the colours that he came back with, now these are sort of fused with these. So these are, I've written it down, I was organised with this one. It's Lang Yarns, and it's a Mille, M-I-L-L-E, colon? Mille colon? That can't be right, 2 seconds. No, it's not Mille colon. Mille, what is wrong with my writing there? Mille Colori Baby. I'm going to show it to you. Nothing to do with colons at all. That's weird. Okay. And it's Merino Fine Superwash. It doesn't feel like superwash though. It feels very unsuperwashy, and it's a little bit fuzzy, and it feels like, I would have said it wasn't superwash, but it, they would know. And the colours are very vivid, which would suggest a superwash. And the colours are 845.0106 and also 8.845.0207. God, I love a romantic colour name. And so there's this one, and there's this one. So this one's more sort of a little bit dull and muted. Oh, it's quite a vibrant blue there. And this one's so similar, sort of blues and greens, but with a bit more pink and sort of golden bits sort of hidden in there. And I wouldn't ever have put these together. I'd have thought they were too similar. But he came back with them when he had a little scarf pattern. And I was like, I'm going to knit a jumper with them. He was like, okay. I don't know what you knit with them. So I was sitting there for ages, and I thought, oh, I wonder. And yes, I got the pattern out for the Shifty, and I looked at I think it's meant to be for sport weight, and this is blatantly 4-ply. But I've watched Knitting Traditions podcast. Inga knitted one of these, and also 100 Acre Wool, Bella knitted one of these. And I noticed that when they were knitting their size, there seemed to be a lot of fabric, and it was always coming out a little bit bigger than they thought. So I thought there's probably a bit of wiggle room with the tension and the gauge and the size. So I played about, and I managed to get gauge and tension with these, and sort of erred on the side of a bit smaller. Oh, that's so exciting. And then it actually works. So I'll show you what I've got. I thought that it wouldn't contrast enough, but it works. And this, oh, that's the back. This is what I've got so far. Isn't that gorgeous? I am so happy with this. Can you see? I mean, it's a little bit more, yeah. This yellow bit's a bit bright, and it wasn't what I thought, because that's the background colour coming through, just went yellow, limey yellow, and I would have probably rather that be the blips. These are all called blips, these little bumps, but I actually quite like, I think it works. I'm not unpicking it. Isn't it gorgeous? It's like little jewels. and it fits. I haven't tried it on for a little bit. I tried it on when I got past under the arms, and it fits, it's snug, but she does say in the pattern that this works with zero ease, which would fit in with what I've seen from other podcasters saying that sometimes they've had to rip back and go a size smaller. So I knitted the smallest size because I do have small upper body, bigger bust, and not so small tummy. Smaller is right. But I can always mess about once I'm past the bust. I normally do some decreases, and you know, I can just play about with that because this isn't a pattern where you need to have a certain number of stitches. You know, it's a easy repeats, and I love the fabric that this makes. It fits so far. It is very stretchy because of the nature of the pattern with the blips, or you know, there's a blip and then there's a blip and a blip, and it's sort of all sort of diagonally as you're supposed to do. It makes sense diagonally, the pattern, allowing for that stretch. What I've had to do, I've interspersed a little bit of the Life in the Long Grass silk, merino silk yarn that I had for my another Andrea Mowry pattern, my So Faded pullover. Had loads left over from that. So I've got a bit of it's the rose hip colourway and a bit of the goldeny one I had. I don't know if I can find it. So I had a bit of this left over, which is gorgeous, and obviously a big contrast to, you know, these. So whenever I feel like these are getting, like, the greens are stranded together and there's not enough contrast, I don't mind that a little bit, because when there's low contrast areas and then there's areas of high contrast, I think they really sing next to the more sort of muted areas and add interest to it. But when I think this is getting ridiculous, it's all muddy, it's not working, I can go ta-da with this, and I think you can see, like here, I've stranded it across the sort of more murky green, and down here as well when they weren't playing ball with how they were sort of working out together. There's a big element of chance with this, and I think that's what she meant. She said you play with colour, you know, that was what she says in the description of it. And I am playing and I'm having so much fun. It is a little bit stressful thinking like, oh no, are these colours they're both going to be blue at once, but then when they are, I can just switch in a little bit of my other contrasting yarns there. And I'm having so much fun, and I think because the pearl bumps, because there's little pearls that are going on, it reminds me of a bit like a boho strickling pattern for that. There's sort of little pearl bits happening. So the texture's gorgeous, but it also means that it drapes much nicer than if it was all stocking stitch, and I think it just makes it a little bit more squidgy and a little bit gives it a bit more depth than it would have if it was sort of stocking stitch flat colour work. And I just absolutely, I love the fabric so far. I love the fit. We'll see what happens with the arms. I have a feeling there could be a little bit, I do tend to have, my arms aren't too big for patterns. Sometimes the patterns are too small for my arms. We'll see how that goes. I'm playing around with it. I'm trying not to be too precious. I'm having so much fun. And I think what makes it really nice is that, you know, James has gone out and he's chosen the colours for me and brought them back with me in mind, and then I'm making something from it. So it feels really special that I'm actually knitting with something that someone's chosen for me with me in mind. And I wouldn't have chosen these myself. I really like them. I might have chosen one of them and then thought I would have gone for a totally contrasting colour, fretting about tones and things like that. I wouldn't have put them together. But because they were given to me and I, you know, a bit of an experiment, and I think it does work, and I really like how subtle it is with just little pops of bits, and they're my colours, and I'm so happy, and it's a bit special. So thank you, James. And that is my Shifty. Is there anything else I should say? I mean, as you can see, it's top down, it's fun. I really need to check the pattern. I think after I got past the armholes, I just merrily kept knitting away, and I haven't really looked at the pattern, but I think it's pretty straightforward after that. You know, I'm sticking to the preset pattern. Yeah, that is my Shifty. Whenever I'm in the living room, I'm working on that. I don't tend to take this out with me because I have to change yarns and have bits of yarn everywhere, and it is a mess. If you can see, like, I'm in a tank. I'm not one of these, I'd love the glamorous Instagram posts where everyone has neat little bobbins. Mine's a tangled, disgusting mess, but I don't care because I'm having fun. So that's my Shifty. My next whip is one that was in hibernation before. It's the half and half wrap by Pearl Soho. It's a free pattern on their website. It's taking forever. This is doing my absolute nutting. If I didn't know how big this was, I would have knitted the small version. But I know I've just started complaining immediately. But I mean, look at this. It's going to be fun. I don't think you can even see how big it is on the camera. And I can't even spread it out properly because it's on my circular needles. The dog's sighing again because he's heard me go on about this for about a year. I've been knitting on this for a year now. I'm getting close. As you can see, or not see, it's 2 triangles made by short rows. It's like 300 or 400 stitches across, and then you decrease for the black, and I'm increasing for the purple. I did explain it properly one episode. You might have to look back to previous episodes if you want an actual explanation, because I am so done with this. If you want some mindless knitting, this is for you. When it's done, I'm going to be really happy. It could be a blanket, it could be a scarf. It's supposed to be a scarf or shawl, but I mean, it's massive. It's going to be could be a blanket. I can do what I want. It's knitted with West Yorkshire Spinners in Night Sky, sparkly black, and Fiberspates Cumulus Storm Cloud on the other side. Totally different texture, but I think it works, and that's kinder on my neck than this is, so that'll work. Black, I'm one of these funny people who have like base colours in the wardrobe. So it used to be black, burgundy and navy for me, and then I realised black isn't actually my colour. So I've since switched to navy. So I really wish I'd done this in a navy sparkle, even though I don't know if there's a navy sparkly one, but how amazing would that be? However, black still goes with everything. I still got the beautiful, beautiful stormy grey colour. So yeah, so it was navy, black, burgundy, and now it's more like probably grey, burgundy and black, so it still works. The idea is that you get any big investment pieces or anything that takes a lot of time or money, you try and knit in one of those 3 colours that your base is, because everything else they all go together, and then everything else will go with one of them. I'm not that disciplined really, I just love colour, but well, that was the idea when I picked the colours anyway, and I'm not sorry about the colours. Even though I've said I'd like a navy, I do think this is a nice combination. It's going to be great when it's done. I don't know if you can see, this is my marker I'm knitting to, and every there and back I do all these millions of stitches here. I do one more stitch, do a wrap and turn, move my little yellow marker 1 stitch closer to the end to try and got 1 stitch drop there, to try and keep myself going, because I stopped on this for ages because I just felt like hopeless, like I'm never going to finish this. But there's a psychological thing that I've discovered where if I put markers on or make myself mark off every 10 rows or divide things up, I feel like I've got an achievable goal. There's a psychology in there somewhere, and it really helps me just stay focused and get the sort of longer knitting parts done. So I've broken these stitches remaining up into 10, so I've got 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 62, 6. I've got 66 stitches left here, which means I have 132 rows to go, because a row there and back eats up 1 more stitch of this. And 132 rows isn't a lot when you're knitting like a sweater, but with this it's a beast. It's so many stitches. So I'm trying to do like 4 rows a day, which means this should be done in October and ready for the winter, and that would be really, really good, and that's going to keep me going. But dividing it up really helped me, because then I can see like I'm getting closer. It feels like I'm not, but I am getting there. You know, I'm this many closer to getting it done. And with the grey, the rows are getting longer and longer each time, whereas the way you knit the black ends up with a really long row, and then it gets shorter and shorter and shorter. So by this time I'll be going with the black. With the grey, it's just like a marathon, except not running and not being out of breath, not, you know, feeling close to death. Although, you know, no, I'm just being dramatic. But yeah, that's my half and half wrap. Didn't need to talk about that as much as I did, but there we go. Oh, I've also still working on my bunny wish mittens. Nat, if you're watching, look away. these are for my friend. I don't think she watches, it's fine. Aren't they beautiful? I can't remember how far I got with these last time. I'll just pull this down. This is a pattern by Sarah L. Kelly. 2.75mm needles. I have used Barram U Pip Colourwork for the green in the colours Round Hay, the green, and Spindrift by Jamieson's of Shetland in Camel for the rabbit, the little bunny with his little, he's got like a dandelion there. You can see this is the face of someone that really likes colourwork and is knitting colourwork for their friend. It's very involved. I do think they'll be beautiful. It starts off at the bottom with a lot of ribbing, and then there's some Latvian braids going on here, the colourwork. I did something wrong with one of their eyes. I think I've mended it. It's fine. Yeah, Latvian braids here and here with the little bunnies running along there. You fold that up inside for the cuff so it's nice and stiff. It's like a Latvian style mitten really. And then there, she does like rabbits and things. She likes nature, so I do think that'll be fantastic. I do think she'll like them. I hope I've knitted them big enough. I asked how big her hands were and she was a bit suspicious. Bit blatant actually, she probably guessed what I'm doing. It's her birthday coming up, and I've done one. As you say, I have second sock syndrome, I have second mitten syndrome, but I am running out of the camel. Oh, here's the thing, if any of you, this is Spindrift, camel, this is absolutely shameless. If anyone has any of this in their stash, I only need one 25-gram ball, probably less than that. And I am going to order it from Jamieson's of Shetland. They're fantastic. I recommend them, by the way. I'm not trying to get out of spending money at them. I've got loads of their colourwork, wool for colourwork. I've knitted a lot of Marie Wallen patterns in the Jamieson's of Shetland. Love, love, love. However, paying the shipping is going to be as much as one of the balls of wool because I'm not near a shop that stocks them. If anyone has got any of this in camel, if you would let me know and send it to me, I will send you something back. Shameless plea there for a bit of camel, but if but if no one has it, that's fine. I'll forgive you. But yeah, I need more of that so I can finish these, do the other one and get them sent off to her. That is a really fun one. But when I start on this, I just need to hammer it and do it and not get sidetracked. You need to concentrate. As you can see, it's really involved colourwork. Every row is different, but again, I love colourwork. It's so much fun. It's like drawing or painting, and then you can see the little design like coming beneath your needles. It's just like magic. And obviously left and right are different because he's going to bend the face the other way. And I think she'll like them. So yeah, that is my other whip. I've done a lot of talking. We're getting there. We've just got the swips, the soon-to-be whips, or my dream knitting, just to run through. So I haven't started this yet. I thought I would have started it by now. I am ready. I am primed. I have the wool. The wool's amazing. I'll get the wool. I am going to knit the Ada dress by Shirley Payden, and oh look, oh, I mean I've gone on about this before, it's quite intimidating. I need to start. This is what I'm going to knit it in. It's the Milburn 4-ply. It's a gorgeous charcoaly, well maybe not charcoal, it's a lovely grey, Eden Cottage yarns. It's 85% Blueface Leicester, 15% silk. I've got loads and loads and loads and loads of this. It's going to look amazing. What's stopping me is I need to do some proper swatches. I can't do my little rubbish 5 centimetres swatch. It'll probably be okay swatch, which is what I have been known to do. I do swatch, just not properly all the time. This, something like that, with that amount of lace, with that amount of work, with the amount of variations in measurements, because although lace is very forgiving, I'm going to have a different waist measurement to the model, different bust measurement. I'm going to have to be extra large for the hips because I've got wide hips, smaller for the waist, medium probably for the bust. And the way that this dress changes size through the dress for all those proportions isn't by decreasing the stitch count, it's by decreasing needle size. So I need to knit several swatches, being really good at labelling which swatches, which needle size in which lace pattern to make sure this works. There is one particular lace pattern for the bottom, and then one for the, so there's sort of one there, and then there's one for the middle, and a slightly different one for the top. So at the very least I need 3 really generously sized swatches, and then if that's wrong I'll have to change needle and do another generously sized swatch, and that like blows my mind because I just want to start knitting, and it's going to be like hundreds and hundreds of stitches. You start at the bottom and you go up. I might be overthinking it. I've done schematics, but actually I think with a lace dress with this much work in, it's better to put the work in now. I just think it's got to the point where I'm actually procrastinating because I'm a bit intimidated. But this is the Seam to Be Whip. I will get it started when I've done my other things, and it's going to be one of those involved things that I work on at home when I can focus with the chart next to me and when I want to be totally absorbed in it. But that's coming up, and I am very excited about that. Slightly scared, but excited. Now, the lovely James, he went to Barcelona recently to see his best friend who lives out there, and he went to a shop called All You Knit Is Love, and he came back with this. He asked her, like, the lady in the shop, you know, what would be a really good wool to take back to my girlfriend who absolutely loves knitting, you know, I can say it's from Barcelona, and she recommended this one. He thought the colour, I would like the colour. He's absolutely right. I love the colour. I love it, turquoisey, greeny, bluey lusciousness. It's baby Suri alpaca, 90%. So 90% baby Suri alpaca, 10% silk, and the colour is rousseau. It looks like it's felted, but you can see there's very thin strands in there. And it's soft and it's gorgeous. It would have been hand dyed, and I think it was a bit pricey, so I have one. I looked up loads of different one scheme projects, and I got lots of different ideas, but in the end I got a bit excited when I saw Joji Locatelli's instant crush pattern, and I'll put a picture up here. It's a really lush colourwork jumper done in mohair. Now, if you're a long time watcher, you'll know I've got a bit of an obsession with fiberspates cumulus. It's baby alpaca and silk rather than mohair. Mohair can be a little bit scratchy for me. I've got a bit more adventurous recently, but this is softer, a little bit thicker than mohair, which could be a challenge. But I got a lot of this when I was trying to knit my sorrel sweater. It just went wrong. That's a whole nother story. But anyway, while I was sort of swatching for that, I got loads of different fiberspates cumulus because that's very soft, and that's what I was using to strand with the wool before I realised it's a bit thicker than mohair. And I had this, and this is thistle, this is indigo, oh, I love that colour. This is aubergine. It's good because I was thinking aubergine. I've even got a bit of, I think this is the teal, and I've got some slate. I've got far too many. But it needs 4 colours, so I'm looking sort of between all of these and this. And you're supposed to strand 2 strands together, so it's a lovely thick mohair colourwork sweater, which I'm really excited about, and I like the pattern. I just think it's cool. I'm going to strand 2 of this together so I keep the purity of this colour, but I probably will run out because of the amounts. But if I run out, I'm thinking, like, I don't know how it's knitted. I think it's knitted top down. So I could start off with this as the main colour, and then if I run out, I could sort of blend this in where this gives off, because it's sort of like, could turn into this, or I could just order a turquoise. I'm still thinking about it, as you can see, but I'm thinking it'll be like this. Or the other thing is I've got loads of this in pearl that I use for my mauve blouse, like a white one, which could work for the contrast, but I haven't swatched yet. I'm going to sort of play around with that, but I'm thinking that's going to be really, really nice. And soft, squidgy mohair colourwork sweater with this in is going to be lush. So that is what I'm thinking. I was considering seriously considering the Avon cardigan by Lily Kate Makes with this as the sleeves, the floaty sleeves, but I got sidetracked by the Hohi Locatelli pattern and it looks so good. And the last one, I don't know if I mentioned this last time, I'm sorry if I did, but I can't remember conversations I had yesterday, let alone 3 or 4 months ago. Maybe I mentioned getting this wool. Knitting for Olive, I'm on a bit of a one with these. I got this is lavender blue. It's the silk mohair. Getting more adventurous, aren't I? A little bit scratchy. This is the worry. And this is the extra fine merino. Again in lavender blue. They match. They are divine. And I've mentioned this pattern before, but this is what I'm going to knit for the winter. I haven't got many lighter coloured winter sweaters. Shock horror. And so I thought this would be a beautiful colour for a really cosy winter sweater, and it is the Peacock Solo by Lena Holm Samso. So it's a turtleneck. I don't know how it's knitted yet, but it's beautiful. It's got all this lovely detailing, and I just think it'll be really nice in this colour. I thought it might match my earrings. Got these again, as the lovely James got me these. I thought they sort of match, and yeah, so that's going to work well as well. I also want to knit a sweater for my youngest. He has had his growth spurt. He's now 6 foot something. He towers over me. He's almost 16. Very pleased with himself. But for him, if anyone's got any recommendations, right, because I'm thinking of doing a colourwork sweater for him, DK weight or Aran weight, but it's got to be really, really soft, because he's got sensitive skin like me, but he's worse than me. He won't tolerate wool. I'm reluctant to knit him an acrylic one because it won't be as warm, but maybe I should if he's going to like the feel of it better. He tends to like the feeling of polyester and acrylic. But I was hoping to find a really nice natural fibre, and then it would be like an heirloom piece for him to just keep. If anyone's got any recommendations for colour work, wool in DK or Aran weight that they think has stood the test of time, if they've knitted for a family member who's got really, really sensitive skin and that's worked, then please do let me know. I mean, it could just be I have to put my hand in my pocket and get a merino wool. I mean, because this is very soft. This is merino, but it would have to be like a heavier weight merino. If anyone's got any ideas or suggestions, please do say. I want it to be warm for him, you see. But that is on my list as well. And I'll put a pattern up here that I think he's got his eye on. But kids change. He's a teenager. It could change. So he still needs to go through and check. And he needs to, there's stuff we've got to work out about that. But that's on my list as well. As if I haven't got enough going on. I also want to knit some more socks. I got this in the sale bin at Yarndale, and that is going to be some fun socks, possibly with some white mohair to be cosy, but I don't really want to tone the colours down. But then does it matter, because it'll be on my feet? Don't know. Anyway, I could just ramble on for hours now, and it's started to get into a bit of a ramble. Life-wise, everything's fine. I've just been ridiculously busy, and I think the busier I got and the more I knitted, the more I thought I'll need a long one to actually catch up. So if you're still here, well done. Congratulations, you've made it. I will hopefully get better at recording more regularly and actually just do a normal length one next time. We've had a really good summer holiday. It's raining now, just looking at the rain. And the kids enjoy being off school and college, and they're back again soon. And I'm on a bit of a holiday now, which is partly why I've got time to actually record and do like jobs and go on holiday and all sorts of things. Just been on holiday in Scotland on the west coast, went to Port Patrick, which is a fantastic place, and I might put some video in actually at the end of this. I did some extreme knitting at Dunsky Castle, which was amazing, and we also did a bit of glamping at a fisheries, which was like quite fun, but it was one of those like no fires allowed. I like a bit of like fires and candles if we're going to do glamping, and it's not very glampery when you've got to like share a toilet with loads of fishermen, which everyone else was there fishing. But we had such a nice time, and we got to take our doggy with us, so that was nice. yeah, and I've been to see my family in the Cotswolds, and that was fun. And now I'm just going to do loads of knitting and clean the house and do the garden and just, you know, be very middle-aged. So yeah, if you want to comment and let me know what you're knitting on and what you're up to, what you've been up to over the summer holidays, I would love to hear about that. And thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.